Hello and welcome back to the Coder's Legacy channel. In this video, we'll explore how to use the XPath feature in Selenium. XPath is a very interesting feature that is not just a Selenium thing, it's actually a separate concept that exists outside of Selenium. It's something that's used to access or to walk through an HTML document. It's a way of traversing HTML code and selecting elements within it. It's used by other popular libraries as well related to the web, such as Scrapy. Scrapy is also a very great library used for web scraping. And yeah, so in today's video, we're going to explore how to navigate this website using XPath, how to navigate its different elements, how to select different elements in the web page. So let's go back to our code, and now we'll just discuss the setup that I've done here a bit, just a brief overview. So I've set things up using the WebDriver Manager library. It's a library for convenience. It downloads and manages the web drivers for us, the web drivers that are needed for the browsers to run, like Chrome needs the Chrome driver, Firefox needs the Firefox driver, etc. So if you want to learn more about how I've set this up and how you guys can do it too, just I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Okay, my setup video on how I set up Selenium. Okay, other than that, there's one more interesting thing here, which is this. I'm using the headless mode so that I don't have to render the browser each time I run a command, because we're going to be running a lot of commands in this tutorial, and I don't want to have the additional load time of the browser rendering. This is just much faster. Okay, if you're using Firefox or Opera or anything else other than Chrome, you will simply do this. Okay, Chrome has this additional is equal to new thing. Okay, now what we're gonna do is first let's discuss how to write expressions. Okay, because I'm assuming you guys don't know how to write XPath expressions at all. So we'll start from the basics. So the first thing you want to do is use either the find element or the find elements function. They're the same thing really, but find elements is going to find all elements. Like if it finds 10 elements that match your XPath expression that we give in the second parameter, so if it finds 10 elements, it will return a list of 10 elements. The find element function, on the other hand, if there were 10 elements, it would return the first element that it finds. So let's begin writing our XPath expression. So XPath expressions will either begin with a double slash or a single slash. And it's kind of important to clear up this concept before we proceed any further, because this is confusing for a lot of people. Everyone just begins writing with a double slash, regardless of, they don't really know why they're doing it, in my opinion. They just do it because everyone's doing it. But it is kind of important to understand why you generally begin with a double slash. So let's say that I'm trying to extract all of the links from a web page, or in this case, I'm trying to extract the links from this web page. This right here, this web page. So what I'm going to do to extract all of the links, what is the HTML tag for a link? It's this, right? It's this A tag. So what we're going to do is type A over here. So double slash A. What does this mean? Well, it means recursive. Okay, double slash means recursive. It's a recursive search. Recursively, or a deep search. It means search throughout the entire HTML structure. The HTML structure, which is kind of like a tree, a hierarchy, where you have like these top level elements. These top level elements that expand, like these are like children, you can think of it that way. So it means search throughout everything and find me all of the A tags, find me all of the links. On the other hand, if we did this, a single slash, because by default when you begin searching, you begin at the very top, right? The very top of the hierarchy, which is this. This is the top. These are the two top level elements in the hierarchy that expand to reveal the children, basically. So if you did slash over here, slash A, it would mean find me the A tags at the top of the hierarchy. So there are no A tags at the top of the hierarchy, and I can prove this to you. I'm gonna do double slash first, and we'll do a recursive search throughout the document. Okay, and you won't see any browser pop up because we're using headless mode, so this will be over quickly, or at least faster than usual. Okay, sorry, I forgot to print out anything, so we'll do links is equal to that, then we'll print out the length of the links, and over here will be stored the list of web elements. Web elements is the type, the data type that this returns. And as you can see, we got 55 links. Okay, now I'll make the /a. This should be 0 because there are no top level A tags in here. And there you go, it says 0. Okay, so with this in mind, let's continue. You might think that the slash is completely useless, but it's not. Okay, it just has its particular use cases, which we'll get into later in this video. So let's begin looking at this page and discussing what we want to scrape or extract. So let's start with the title. It's the most obvious thing in here. So let's examine it. Now this is a bit unusual because it would normally be in H1, but as I can see here, it's in H1, and within the H1 is an A tag. Normally that wouldn't really be the case, but okay, at least I don't think it would be the case, but okay, this is going to be no problem. What we're going to do is come over here, double slash, and because I'm not going to go and write out body /div/h1. I'm not going to do that. I know there's only one h1 in this page because that's a rule in HTML, only one h1 per page. So I'm just going to directly write double slash h1, and then I'll do a single slash. Okay, and then because the A tag comes right after the h1 tag within the hierarchy, directly one level below, so I can do a single slash. So then we'll do okay, so this will get us the A tag. Okay, this gets us the A tag. Let me just make that find element. But what I want to do with the A tag is like get something useful from it, right? I want to get the text, for example, this text over here, or maybe I want this link over here. So how do I do that? Let me show you. So you can do print link, or let's just make this more fancy, link text link dot get attribute inner HTML. Okay, and that will return you the text. Let's get the link href. Same thing, it's an attribute, so we'll do href. Now let's run this code, and we should get the correct details. So there you go, you can see the link text, and the href is right there. And don't worry, this is actually the correct. Okay, if I hover over it, this is relative. Okay, what you see here is relative. The pop-up shows the actual link, the link URL. Alright, so next up, let's take a look at something else. The most obvious thing, this is a website about quotes. Let's scrape all of the quotes on this page. So what we're going to do is examine this first. So it's inside this div, okay, or let's ignore that div. It's inside these texts are inside this div called they have a class of quote. Okay, so you need to look for these unique identifiers. You need to uniquely identify this div which contains the quote from the other divs. Like when you do let's just remove that now. So when you do /div, you don't want to get all of the divs, right? You want to get the divs which contain the quote. So what we're going to use, what we're going to do is use the class quote as a way of filtering out the divs that we want. So we'll do this. This is the syntax for it. Single quotes. Then we'll do quote, and this will return us the divs which have the class of quote, also known as the divs which contain the quotes and the quote details, such as who made the quote. So once we get this, we're going to do, so there's this span element in here that contains the quote text. So what we'll do is /span, okay, then we want, there are two spans in here. Okay, so let's assume we don't want the author. Okay, I don't want the author. So what I want is the text. And if I do double, this is where you need to again filter it out. Okay, you want to do class is equal to text. All right, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So this will return to us. If we do find element, it will return only the first quote to us. But I want all of them, so I'm going to do find elements. Then we can change that to quotes. This will return a list, so we'll iterate over them for quote in quotes. And mind you, this is returning this, okay? It's returning to us this span, okay, this element. So what we're going to do is quote.getAttribute inner HTML, and this should print out, whoops, forgot to print it. Let's save, clear, and rerun that. So this should print out the text of all 10 quotes on this page, and there you go, done. Pretty great, right? So let's take a look at some other stuff. How do we get the author? Well, it's a pretty similar thing. There's a span element here, but it doesn't have any unique identifier on it. It just says span. All right. Okay, now that's a bit tricky. So this is where we can do something interesting. We can do span 1 or span 2 actually, because don't get confused in this, but because indexing usually starts from 0, but when we do indexing in XPath, it starts from 1. So if I want the second element, I need to do 2, okay, not 1. So if I do span and then I do 2, it will return to me the second span in this hierarchy, this being the first and this being the second. So then we get the span, then I can return the link text in there. No, wait, I don't want the link text. I want this. This has the name Albert Einstein. So this is what I want. So I'll do span / small. Okay, I think that's all we need to do. We don't need to specify the class here because there are no other small elements in here with which it could get confused by. So let's hope this works. There you go, perfect. So what we just did is this is a new concept that again, it's kind of a niche concept actually. It's not used that often, not very well known, but again, it is interesting in these cases where they haven't been properly labeled. See, this had a class of text, so that made it very easy for us. But this has nothing. It has no way of uniquely identifying it. So that's where you can use tricks like this. Find the second element. That's pretty cool. Okay, so what else should we do? Well, what I want to show you now is the same thing, but just to really drive this point in, what I want to do is show you how to get like the second quote. So what we'll do is find element, because we only want one element, then remove that, put that over there, then this. So I want the second quote. I hope that works. What is the second quote? But oops, whoopsie noodles. Okay, so this actually worked, but it gave me the inner HTML quite literally, which is its contents, which is all of this. What I forgot to do was actually span, and I can see it over here actually, span the one with the class of text, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's run this again. But it looks like we did get the second quote, because the second quote was one from Harry Potter right here. So there we go. Great. So we just did that with the second one. Perfect. Now let's take a look at some other things. There's another concept I want to show you guys that's again rather tricky and not very well known. So let me just dial that down, and again we'll do find elements and quotes, and then for quote in quotes. All right, we'll do that. So what I want to do is make things a bit simpler. Like, let's say that I want to get the I want to get the author, the text, and the tags for the quote all at the same time. This would be a bit tricky, right? Because what I've normally been doing is writing out the whole thing like this: span class is equal to text, right? This is what I've been doing. So if I wanted all three of them, then I would have to kind of like duplicate this three times, the whole thing three times, right? This one being like the div for tags, because the tags are in a div actually. Whoops, and lots of typos. So the tags are actually in this div called classes. So I would have to write each one of these out like this, like full length tags. And then I would have to write /a over here to get the tags. This one would be the quotes itself, this one would be the links, and so on. You get the point, right? I would have to write out these full expressions each time. But here's another interesting way that we can do this. I'm just going to get the quotes, okay? Then what I'm going to do, or let's just try this out with one quote. Actually, it's easier that way. We'll just make this find element so that it returns the first quote, okay? Let's just remove that. So I'm going to do quote text. This is the quote element, okay? The quote element is the HTML. Let me just print that out just so we're clear. Print out its inner HTML. So if I print this out, you're going to see that it's actually the parent element that contains all of this information. It contains the tags, it contains the author, it contains the text. Okay, just remember that. Okay, it's important. So what we're going to do is quote element. We want these details. We want the quote element. We want the quote text. We want the quote author, and we want the quote tags. So we want these three details. What we're going to do is, instead of doing driver.findElement, we're going to do quote element.findElement. This is actually the interesting thing, is that you can like get an element, find an element, then search within that element. So we'll do dot // Okay, the dot is important here, because if you do // it's going to begin searching from the top of the document. I'm not sure why it does that when I'm calling the find element function on the element itself, but you just need to add a dot in there. Okay, otherwise it won't search within the element. It's going to search within the entire document. So add the dot. Then we want the quote text, right? So what we're going to do is write, I should have it remembered by now, honestly, but it's span, and it's in the class of text. Okay, that's it. So if I want the quote text, then I'll just add on over here just to shorten our code in our HTML. Okay, that's one down. And the quote author, what we're going to do is quote element dot find element, and I'll have to take a look at this. It's in the second span. Okay, so we'll have to do that again, where I do span 2 and then small, then get attribute inner HTML. All right, then quote element dot find element. To get the tags, I'm going to do dot / div. It has the class of tags. Okay, then it has these a tags, so I just want all of them, so I'll do /a, and that's pretty much it. Now for the quote tags, I'm just gonna find out the length. Will be, otherwise I'll have to iterate through them and then print them out like that. Same thing, really. You already know how to do that by now. So we'll just print these out. we'll just call it number of quote tags. Okay, but again, you can just print, iterate over them, and then do get attribute inner HTML if you want the name of the tag. So let's run this, and if all goes well, we should get these three pieces of information. And the concept I was trying to teach here is, okay, that didn't work. We'll take a look at that. But the concept I was trying to teach here is how you could call the find element function on sub elements. Okay, you don't need to necessarily call it on the driver. So the culprit is, oh, okay, this is a really dumb mistake. I forgot to pass in the first parameter. So this should work now, hopefully. Yeah, you're right. I just noticed that. Find elements for the quote tags, because there are multiple tags. Alright, there we go, perfect. So we have the quote text, we have the quote author, and we have the number of tags. Now you can just duplicate this for like all quotes by changing this into find elements, changing this into quote elements, then iterating over quote elements, and so on and so forth. You get the idea, right? You can iterate over this and then do it like this. Let's just go ahead and do it. What the hell? So we'll do this, and we'll get the details for every single, yeah, that's pretty much it. Text, author, number of tags, so on and so forth. So this is where I'm going to end the video because we've covered quite a bit. And we've covered many difficult to grasp concepts, actually. There's a lot of other things that we weren't able to discuss, but if I sat here and explained everything in the detailed way that I am right now, would be here for an hour, and I don't think anyone's going to stick around long enough for that. So I've left most of the technical stuff and easy to memorize stuff like functions and stuff that can be used. And another interesting thing where you can do stuff like, for example, um, let's just remove things. So you can do like, if there's an A tag, you can do text like a function, okay? Then you can do Albert, okay? So you can say, find me the A tag, and let's just remove that too. So find me the A tag with the text of Albert. This is also an interesting thing that we can do. So there are many other things like this, minor things that are easy to understand. You'll find them on my website. I'll include a link to it in the description below. That website has like a list of 20 to 30 different expressions that you can write on this very same page. Okay, in this video I've covered most of the hard to grasp things that people usually confuse or they never end up learning because no one ever told them. It's not very mainstream. But yeah, these are the important things that you need to know. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.